Woohoo, we made the connection. We are here, we are live, Linnea.
Kia ora, Sigrid. Happy 2026.
Oh, yes. And to you and everyone who is watching, who is here today. So, what I want to do, Linnea, is I'm going to start with a couple of questions for our audience, for those who are watching us. Do your words work? How do you know? Do you want to know? If you do, you're in the right place. So, again, hello and welcome to Words That Work, how language creates visibility, credibility, and connection on LinkedIn. My name is Sigrid de Cast, global online networking strategist, and together with Linnea Johnston, LinkedIn visibility and AI discoverability expert, we're going to share our insights around words that work over the coming 60 minutes. Linnea, you're all set for it, are you?
I certainly am, and it's a pleasure to be back on a live stream in 2026 because I do think live streams are a great way to reach out and connect with people, Sigrid. So I'm very pleased that you invited me today and look forward to the discussion we're going to have.
I think we're really lovely bouncing off each other, what we teach, what we share, and what we work on together and with clients and generally on LinkedIn. So it's a great opportunity. Thanks for accepting it. Now, this live is an interactive workshop on how language, stories, responses shape our visibility, the credibility and connection, of course. And you can use that insight or our insights online in video in live conversations. Now, Linnea and I will do the talking, but you are encouraged to interact in the comments. And I will point to that as we go along to remind you. And we will pick up the comments. Now, whether I'll pick them up every time everyone comments or whether I'll pick them up at certain stages, we'll see how we bring it all together. And we are asking questions of you, our audience, but also of each other. So we'll see how we go on all of that. We are absolutely welcoming your comments in general or on what we are sharing. And making sure that you know whether you're here live or whether you are watching this later as a replay, the comments are valuable to us. We will come back to interact. So do look out, and we are looking out excitedly for your comments. Linnea, you're doing awesome work on LinkedIn with clients and members in your community. Where do you start when someone asks you, doesn't matter what I post, no one sees it. Visibility is gone. That's a big one, isn't it? Is that one that keeps
Oh,
coming?
it is, Sigrid. So exactly, where do I start? I hope you're going to let me talk about this for an hour. In actual fact, it is a bigger question. And so if it's all right with you, why don't I start sharing some of my ideas around this? Because I think it's really important that people understand that there has been such a huge change with LinkedIn in the last year. And I've been on LinkedIn now and focusing on LinkedIn for over a decade. And my understanding is that there has been the biggest change on the platform in the last year that we have seen in the entire decade. And so we need to be aware of that. I think a lot of people may not understand that there has been such a huge change in the last year, and I'll talk about that a little more, but also how that relates to our success or otherwise on the platform, because that has changed too. So many people may find, for example, that they need to be thinking about how their posts are working, how their comments have changed, and what they're doing in their direct messaging, because the words now count. Because LinkedIn has changed quietly, but fundamentally, if you like. So what happened last year, and some people will already know this, but it may be new to others, is that LinkedIn incorporated a new AI engine into what it does, how it works. Most people would call that the algorithm. And that is called 360 Brew. And that means that AI is now underpinning everything we do on LinkedIn. Now, that means it's interpreting language, not just what we do, but how we speak. And that's what we're talking about today. Also, it's about the fact that the format isn't so very important with our posting as it used to be, and quietly posting isn't as important as it used to be either, and that AI is now working to infer meaning from patterns. If you've worked with AI, and I'm sure you've already begun your journey on this, like most of us, you'll understand that this is what it's all about. It's not about the words, it's about the patterns of the words. And so it's not about just the posts anymore, it's about much, much more than that. So fundamentally, LinkedIn is different in 2026 than it was in 2025. So it's no longer just about distributing content. You know, when I first began focusing on LinkedIn in 2025, no, in 2016, so a decade ago now, it was all about the posting. I was really taken with LinkedIn because you could put up short form posts. Before that, only articles were permitted on the publishing platform. But then, of course, and since then, we've now been able to post all kinds of content, videos, slide shares, multiple images, you name it. And so it's become a very different beast altogether in this last 10 years. And I've also always maintained that you can be successful on LinkedIn with just posting. I mean, obviously building a network, but you could do that with posting by and large. But that's no longer the case. And so we need to be thinking about a different strategy altogether. Now, partly that's because of the way that AI now works with LinkedIn and the way that it is interpreting what we do. So it's no longer just looking at your posts. When it looks at your posts, it's also looking at your profile, at your comments, at your direct messaging, and at the conversations that you are having with people. And we need to see this as an entire ecosystem now, not just posting individually, engaging individually, sending direct messages as a separate tactic. It all comes together and it all needs to show the AI, along with the humans who are watching, who you are, what you do, and crucially for AI, who should see you, because AI determines how visible you are going to be on the platform. And what that looks for is clarity. Clarity in your message. Are you saying the same thing each time? And if you are, that's being consistent, because it's looking for signals it can categorize into a system that allows it to distribute your content to the people that it knows want to see it. Now, it's a bit like going to a rock concert. You're going to see a band whose hits you absolutely love. How would you feel if you went to this concert and the band were playing songs you had never heard, and they might be playing songs outside their normal genre as well? You would feel very confused and have no idea what was going on. And that is a very good metaphor for what's happening on LinkedIn. We are needing to be consistent in what we are saying in our language, because LinkedIn is now a language-led system. We need to talk a bit about why it's the lever that is really important at the moment, because it comes back down to this word inference. AI doesn't guess, it infers from what we do, what we put into it. And so that turns out to be our repeated phrases. What do we say over and over again? And the familiar wording that it picks up from that. And the examples, they need to be consistent. They might not necessarily be exactly the same each time. I mean, that would be boring, wouldn't it? We don't want to be boring, but they need to have a consistent message to them. And so my example of that is that I do gardening videos on LinkedIn. Now, my videos are not about gardening per se. I'm no expert, but videos talk about my garden as an example about something to do with LinkedIn. They always come back to LinkedIn and a message I want to get across. So consistent examples work really well. And the same with stable role language. Now, this is the language that you use to describe what you do and who you help, the results they get, etc. And doing that on a consistent basis is very important as well. Because what happens is if we change the language every time, then the meaning of that weakens. Now, this is not easy for some of us. Now, I'm a professional writer by trade, and I like to use different wording. I like to do different phrases. I don't like to be writing the same thing all the time. And so this is causing me to have a completely new mindset around this. And so my tactic is to come up with what I would call a suite of phrases that have this familiar wording that is very consistent with who I am and what I do. Because I think it's important for everyone to know that I'm in the same position as everyone else out there. I am also having to make changes to what I do on LinkedIn and how I am seen, because my experience over 2025 is that my profile views were down nearly 50%. The views on my content were down around 34%. Engagement is down as well. So consequently, visibility in total, so search appearances, right down too. So I am in the process of making these kinds of changes to my own profile and to my own content and to my own strategy as well. But I think it's important to talk about where we get our problems. Do we get stuck with the things that we're trying to do here? Because we do need to be clear. Clarity is very important, as I've already mentioned. And when we are unclear, we are inconsistent, and then AI just gets confused about what it is that it wants us, who it wants us to show people to, so that we don't get the visibility that we should be. So people are often using different words for the same work. We need to be very consistent about that. Vague but maybe impressive language no longer has a role here. So if you are using, say, particularly in industry jargon that no one searches for, time to drop it. Polished wording with no substance to it, sometimes this comes from AI, that's not going to work either. And so we need to make sure that we are using the kind of words that really do resonate across the platform with our potential clients and that show our credibility. Because if we don't, we're going to see diluted visibility and weak recognition. Neither things are good. So, what is the core principle we need to be thinking about? And it is this: if AI can't clearly understand you, then it can't surface you. You won't be discovered or seen. If people can't quickly understand you, then they're not going to trust you. So language then is the bridge between the discoverability, being found, credibility, being known and trusted, and connection, people reaching out to you to build those relationships. Now, it's very important, I think, that we keep this one in mind. It's not just AI, it's people and AI working together when it comes to LinkedIn. So where does this show up in practice? Let's talk about some tactical positioning for a moment, because it's very important that we see that this is right across LinkedIn and that language matters everywhere now. And so if your profile language is inconsistent, you are not saying the same thing or having the same key messages throughout your profile, then it's time to change it. Now, that's something I can help you with. I've been writing LinkedIn profiles for a decade, and I'm well aware now of the changes that need to be made and how we can update our profiles to be consistent with LinkedIn. The posts that we're putting up now are not just about single posts anymore, trying to get that viral post. Those days are long gone. But we do need to make sure that our posting is about the thing we're known for over time. So we need to stay within our lanes. We need to choose maybe 3 to 5 key areas that we talk about that all dovetail into one, into that is what we do, and to make sure we are posting about those on a consistent basis. That's not to say that we can't do them in different ways. We can certainly do videos and slideshows and infographics and all those other kind of fancy formats, but they do need to be consistent about that one area that we're trying to focus on. Now, I've not been good at this in this last year because I get bored easily. And so I talk about a whole bunch of different things. But this year, you will see me talking more and more about the things that are the most important. And for me, of course, that's about LinkedIn and AI. So when it comes to engagement on posts, as I said earlier, the days of writing great posts, thanks for sharing, are long gone. They just ruin your reputation if you put up comments like that. And your comments need to be ones that add value. Share an opinion, ask a relevant question, add a new dimension to the topic. It's not difficult if you're interested in the topic that the post is about. You'll be able to think of something to say, something to share, or something to ask. The idea is that you think about those comments and not just try to do masses of them. Yes, I know that doing a lot is important, but it's what you say in those comments that is now crucial, because not only can people who visit your profile see those, but so can the AI. And you need to think about the engagement that you're putting on people's posts as mini posts in a way, so that your expertise and credibility comes across in spades. And so that, of course, is that example that I mentioned earlier in terms of the posting. And so I think it's important to think that your engagement there is really, really critical. Now, don't forget direct messages. This is something that most of us don't think about, and I'm having to rethink this a bit, because I tend to use my direct messaging for personal messages to people I'm having conversations with, and they don't always just relate to LinkedIn, well, naturally. And so consequently, I might need to be thinking about whether I want to take some of that direct messaging off LinkedIn, say onto emails or onto another platform where I can engage with someone about more personal things, say about my garden, when I'm trying to build a relationship. Now, I haven't quite got this all worked out in my mind as yet, because all of this is very new, as you can imagine. And so I think it's important for us to think about how we send our direct messages, and the messages we are sending to potential clients do need to follow the same concept. We need to be clear, and we need to be spot on with our messaging, and we need to be aiming them at the people that we really do want to get to know, build relationships with, and potentially do business with. Now, live conversations like this is also something where the language is important. And my AI said I need to use fewer words. Well, good luck with that one. Using words is something I do quite a bit and too much of. So I need to listen to this message too and be more intentional and more consistent with my wording. So let's bring it all together now. So visibility brings people to you. Language determines what happens next, because AI can put your profile in front of people, it can put your posts in front of people, but the language that you use in your posting and on your profile is what will determine whether they will move forward with you or not. So all of this is how you get found, how you become trusted, which is hugely important in the era of AI, and how you are remembered. Now, because I do the gardening videos, that's something that people remember me for. I stand out as the only person on LinkedIn who talks about LinkedIn and gardening. And is that a good idea? I hope so, because a lot of people also enjoy gardening. And if there is something that you really that is important to you, that you want to be remembered for, it might be something that is more professional, and I think that's probably a very good idea, then make sure that you focus on that as well as part of your language as you're posting and your presence. Because what you need to remember that all of these things either connect or collapse, and none of us want the collapse. Now, of course, I've been talking about the things on LinkedIn to do with writing. So that's posting, engagement, and direct messaging. But I've always believed that one of LinkedIn's greatest talents is its superpower to help us build relationships through networking. And so the same language shows up in live events as well. And Sigrid's going to talk about this in just a moment. So this is where you comes up in responses, conversations, and how people experience you. So if you think that LinkedIn is all about just posting and just engagement, my friends, you are missing a great trick, and Sigrid is going to talk about that in just a moment. My final thought for you is that you don't need more content. In fact, I'm now suggesting to people to post less, and I'm doing the same myself. But your language needs to work everywhere you show up. So choose it wisely, choose it with clarity, because I think that that is key to what's going to happen on LinkedIn in 2026. So if you're watching this live, please add some comments, because the real learning happens in the interaction. And if you'd like to know more about how I help people with LinkedIn, then please do pop over to linkability.biz, where I like this phrase, where mastering LinkedIn becomes simple. Sigrid, talk to us about networking if you have no questions on the back of it.
Lynette, that's excellent. You've put so much valuable information in there. I think everyone has to digest it to some extent. Now, there are some comments there already and some actual questions. And I'm going to put those in first so that we don't have them go under as we keep going through. And I think they're valuable for everyone to know. And they are questions directly to you. So really, there's a question based on the algorithm and the shift to natural language. Is it better to use language that focuses more on concrete outcomes? That's a question from John Werner.
Yes, I think concrete outcomes is a very good way to use this change to advantage, because people want to know what the result of working with you is going to be like. It's all very well for you to stand up, or for me to stand up and say, I'm fantastic at doing this, come to me because I can help you with X, Y, and Z, and it'll be great. But if you can give concrete results to people, that is something that people really want to see. So my suggestion is to add those examples or those results into your comments, into your posts, into your profile, everywhere that I've just been talking about, so that people can see what it's like to work with you, but more importantly, the results they're going to get. And also, if the person that you're working with says good things about you, add that too. There's nothing like a good recommendation, is there, Sigrid?
I love it. I love it. So let me just very briefly summarize what you've talked about with just a few things there. It's a language-led platform now. LinkedIn has moved into that. So what we put on there is really important. So words do matter. And using a suite of words consistently also so that we get to know you by your words to some extent. Now, I've got another question here for you before I go into sharing my segment here. When you engage with comments on light-hearted posts to show that you are a whole person, not just a business person, does that count against your visibility and does that confuse AI, Linnea? What's your take on that? It
Well,
comes
I
from
think this is a very interesting question, and it's not one that I've got an answer to yet because all of this is so very new, Sigrid.
yeah.
So, on one side of the coin, you could argue that yes, it could confuse the AI, couldn't it? Because you're talking
Mm.
about something that's completely different. And I have this particular conundrum myself because I often will comment on the posts from my Linkability members. Now, they're in all kinds of different industries, and I don't want to just be talking about LinkedIn on their posts. I want to be talking about what they're talking about. And so there is could be argued that that does confuse the AI. But then I also comment on posts by my peers and colleagues and potentially people I might want to do business with when I can talk about LinkedIn. And believe me, when I can talk about LinkedIn in my comments, I absolutely do. If I see a link there, I may waste no time in doing that, but it's not always possible. So I think the answer to this is likely to be, don't hold me to it yet, is that we need to we need to comment more about our area of expertise than we do about those other kinds of posts where we are being, we're helping out in some way by being supportive. Now, if that post that you're commenting on is about something that's happened to the person, some kind of disaster that they're talking about, then I don't think the AI would expect you to be talking about your area of
Right,
expertise and
right.
something like that. So let's also take into account that the AI knows what the post is about too. So it sees the
Yeah.
whole thing as one bigger picture rather than just taking that small comment. Now, that's what I hope it will be doing. Ask me again at the end of the year and I'll be
Yeah.
able to give you a clearer answer.
I was just going to jump in and say, test and measure is probably what we're going to need to be
I
doing
think
those
so.
first few months,
Yes.
test and measure. Yeah. Okay, so there's one more question here that I'll pose to you. Does AI look for consistency across multiple languages when some posts or comments are in more than one language? I mean, I would say so because I'm sure it's trained in multiple languages, but what do you think, Linnea?
I'm not sure I do agree with that
Okay.
because I think it's mostly trained on English. And I've
Okay.
seen posts about it, read about this where the AI in different languages is not nearly as good as in English. So I think that at this point it's doubtful. But AI changed so dramatically quickly in
Mhm.
2025 that I can see that it catching up in 2026 very easily.
Mm.
Look, Google Translate's been around forever, so there's no reason why AI can't incorporate translation into what it's doing and what it's outputting. So my thoughts are that it's probably not great at the moment, but it will get better really quickly.
So for Peter who was asking about lighter comments on lighter posts, do it in a different language so that you are separating from what you do.
Well,
Okay,
that's great for those of you who have
you
different
have a second
languages you can
language.
fall back on.
I know
Some
Peter.
of us.
So Peter's safe. I know he has, and I could do that too.
Yes, you could.
Let's see
I
there.
couldn't, though.
Excellent, thank you. So we'll leave it with that at the moment and come back to more a little bit later. So I really want to say thanks, Linnea, to your share so far. Visibility isn't about posting more. That's really gone. It's
Yes.
about using the right words and the right responses so that you can be found and that AI shows you to the right people in its understanding of you. Really keep that consistency of certain words that you use not only for AI, I would say, but also for the people that they get to know you to some extent by your words. And I'm going to take this into how you use words that give you the visibility with people. And that is the people that you want to connect with and that you want to come to you for your expertise. So I'll go a bit more into that direction. And what I want to do is I'm just going to start off by giving everyone a very brief insight into who I am. So I will be going about this a little bit different, sharing. I just want to share with you, I'm a global online networking strategist, the founder of Global Business Networking Live Online. And I do specialize within that in conversations and communication to connect with people, to get responses that you're looking for, that you are aiming to achieve, so that you're not missing any opportunities. And my focus is really on that intentional communication, expertise, aligned responses, and big one, turning conversations into connections and credibility. And without slides, I'm going to share with you a couple of examples and what I have to give to you, I think. So loads of people on LinkedIn see the platform as a networking platform, and yet they do very little actual networking in my thinking. And while we've just heard about those recent changes on LinkedIn from Linnea, here is what I love about the platform that has not changed. I love that LinkedIn offers us three great features to support networking. Number one is live on LinkedIn. I mean, this is a fantastic opportunity for all of us to show and share who we are live. You can see me, you can hear me, you can make up certain thoughts about who I am, what I do, and how I present myself and my information. That's brilliant. Number two, LinkedIn promotes our lives in the networking, in the events section. So we can search for events, for live events. And it also promotes the live in the feed. Now, at least about an hour before the live goes, it goes through the feed that the live is coming up. And there's a second time, at least, might be more, but I've seen it twice, that there's a second time when a message pops up in the feed that says live in progress. And so you can join, people can join even if they haven't registered. I think that's brilliant from LinkedIn to do that. And number three is the live stays on LinkedIn. You and I, we can go back anytime and we can share the replay and we can continue to comment on it. I think that's just fantastic. And with those awesome features in mind, well, that's why I created Global Business Networking Live Online. At those events, particularly, you get the opportunity to network by promoting yourself with your introduction. And my very special feature is that network and promote yourself with your responses to our guided discussions. That's where you can really show the words you're using, how you're connecting them to your expertise. Now, those two segments allow you to showcase your expertise and make new connections networking with your words, because your words lead to your visibility. And here are the key points that I want to share with you. And let me just very briefly pop them up on a slide so you can see what I'm going to share with you. I'm going to go to the next slide. I'm going to share with you my three key points, and that is conversation, clarity enables visibility. Your responses are visibility signals. They're not just you participating as a responder, but it gives you visibility. And your language must match your expertise and audience. I think that's a really big one in my world and understanding of being visible. So let me jump back from that one and leave that in the background. Let's get started with point number one. Conversation clarity enables visibility. So what do I mean by that? The clearer you are with your words, the easier it is for anyone to understand you. And to make this point visual for you, Let me tell you about the time my husband and I visited Paris. On all our trips, I'm the driver. I'm confident driving on the right and the left-hand side of the road, and in places we visit for the first time, my husband is the navigator. He inputs the destination details into the GPS and monitors that I follow instructions. So in Paris, here we are. GPS is ready. My foot's on the pedal. Go. 3 times in a row, the GPS gave me the instructions to take the exit very late and I couldn't exit. Anyway, finally, I got the exit. We arrive somewhere in the middle of Paris. Totally wrong destination. I'm starting to get hot under the collar. We stop and ask some bystanders. Now, the first 4 are visitors like us that don't know anything. Finally, a Parisian checks our GPS input data against our hotel address details and says, you put in Paris instead of the suburb you want to go to. Street name is fine, suburb is wrong. Well, that is exactly what happens so often when people introduce themselves, especially when networking. You've only got 60 seconds or less to introduce yourself, and your word input counts. Your networking introduction guides the listener to the destination. You want to take the listener to your work, to your expertise. You want them to understand you, what you do, and how special it is what you do. That takes clear, specific words that are aligned with your expertise on one focus point so that the listener can connect with you. So one focus point. Don't talk about everything you do everywhere. Talk about one focus point. Your words can take the listener through how you think, how you work, how experienced you are. And your words can guide the listener to the outcome of being understood, that you and your work is understood. That is your destination with an introduction. To be understood, recognized for your expertise, remembered, and so referred. But how do you get the full attention of the audience in the first place? How do you get all eyes on you, all ears open to listen to your introduction? Well, I did it at the beginning of our session here. Ask a question. I started with a question. Questions must be answered. Our insights automatically answers a question, whether you speak it out loud, the answer, or you answer it just in your head. By doing so, your focus is on the question and the questioner, and that is what you can achieve when you start with a question. Now, maybe not all the time, every time, but think about where that is appropriate. Certainly, you could do that in an introduction. Questions can be used in many different ways to capture that attention. Here is one little example how I could use this questioning scenario to bring a prospect onto my email list. Linnea, let me ask you, Linnea, you're on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Do you connect with new people regularly?
Yes.
You absolutely do, of course. And how do you find new people regularly on LinkedIn? How do you go about finding them? You spend a lot of time?
No, I don't. I usually look at people who have viewed my profile or commented on my posts.
But of course, you have to do a few extra looking, checking time.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Due diligence, I call it. Sigrid, come on. Look at their profile. Look at their post. Yes.
And tell me, does a larger or a smaller number of people interact with you in direct messaging? Do you find sometimes that they don't respond at all?
Yes, I do find that, Sigrid. Yes, unfortunately.
Even though they accept the connection.
Yes, sometimes it just dies. Yes.
It can. There's nothing much coming. So for you, Linnea, if I have a way for you to connect with new people on LinkedIn regularly without you having to search for them or follow up, and I can somewhat guarantee that the new person wants to know more about what you do, would you like to know more?
Oh, yes, please.
And it's really easy. There's no sales involved. Just come along to one of my Global Business Networking live online events and experience how easy and fun it is to connect with new people regularly, set up deeper conversations, perhaps collaborations, and attract new clients along the way. You can grab a visitor pass. I'll give you the link and you'll be on my email list. So look out for my emails with the next event invitation and all the details that you need to know, because networking is the fastest and simplest way to make new connection when you do it strategically with the right words. Thanks, Linnea, for playing along. So that whole set that I shared there, all of those words I used, you can use that in whatever way is suitable for you to have a conversation, to bring somebody onto your list, to give them something to share information. You can tweak and change that. But when you have something set up like that, it makes it so much easier to use the right words. So thanks, Linnea, for playing along. And Linnea, by the way, is part of my Global Business Networking live online membership. Wow, that's a word and a half, isn't it, to say? All right, thanks for those listening. How can you use questions to attract attention immediately? That's my question for you, for our audience. Whether you are here live, you can pop that into the comments now. How do you see using questions perhaps to grab attention yourself in posts, in videos? And for those who watch the replay, feel free to put some comments as well, and we'll come back and look at those too. So you can certainly try it for networking and come along to the one that I offer. Now, keep the question relevant to where you are leading the listener. That's really important, because your words work when you choose them with intent and you tap into something that your target audience is already thinking about. When I did that little exercise with Linnea, she's already thinking about getting more connection. So I started from that angle. What is the angle that you could or would start with? And if you have questions, again, pop them into the comments. I'll take a look for this one shortly, and we will come back later for questions to this whole event, to the replay. Now let's look at what it takes for you to answer questions. So if you are now in the position giving a response to questions or participation in discussions, your responses are visibility signals. That's point number 2 that I want to share with you. When you are responding to questions, you're sending signals, you're positioning yourself and your expertise, so your words matter. And I want to give you a little analogy here. Imagine you are watching a news interview or an interview somewhere that you're really interested in. You want to hear what the participants have to say. So there are 3 experts invited to speak all on the same topic, to answer all the same questions. So you start watching the first one. The first participants at this interview or at this news segment gives the answer in a high-level professional terminology, showing that she really knows the words they're using. But you, the listener, you've never heard them. You've got to go and Google what every word means, and you just lose interest. That's not an expert for you. The second one answers and answers and answers and goes from one little point to another to another. You've lost what they're talking about after point 2. Too many words going into too many directions. That'll be what you'll be remembered for. Too fluffy, too many words, too many directions. Now, expert number 3 says short, clear, what his point is, her point is. The words relate back to their initial introduction. You can make the connection, and then you hear a story, a personal experience, something they talk about, you can immediately relate to. That person you remember, and you want to remember this person, so you write down their name. Now, this is exactly how you position your expertise and authority on your topic, and it'll be really relevant moving into 2026 on LinkedIn, as Linnea has shared with us earlier already. You're sending signals. You're not just giving responses. You're giving signals out to the audience and to the platform as a whole. And you can certainly test your responses and how you respond to discussion questions if you would like. I'll invite you to your moment in the spotlight at my next Global Business Networking live online event as a guest. Just connect with me and I'll give you the guest invitation email link. But whether you're in a networking introduction, answering a question, or participate in a discussion, what makes you visible isn't just that answering. As I said, it's how you stay with your words tight and clear to make your point and bring it back to your expertise if that fits. That's really important. Now, I'm going to go to point number 3 that I want to make before I'm running out of voice here. Point number 3 is your language must match your expertise and your audience. What does that mean? Let me use this analogy. Imagine you walk into a restaurant. The chef is highly trained, years of experience, knows their craft inside out, 5 stars. And then you read the menu. We offer innovative solutions for diverse tastes using customized culinary frameworks. Do you know what cuisine it is you're getting? What dishes you can choose from? Do any of those match your taste? And that is not because the chef lacks expertise. It is because the language doesn't help you choose. So what's the problem? The problem is that the menu wasn't written for the diner. It was written for the chef. And that is exactly what happens in many networking conversations. People describe their work. They use internal language, industry jargon, a broad, impressive sounding phrase or phrases. Because they haven't thought about who do I actually want to reach. When your language doesn't match your audience, the right people don't lean in. And the wrong people don't know that they are not for you. And you're getting all these people that are not really there that you can and want to serve. And no one knows what you do. No visibility. If the menu isn't clear, people walk out. Now, let me put in here also a word about matching your audience. Both Linnea and I often see LinkedIn profiles mentioning loads of different target groups that someone put into their description line up the top, you know, the one under the banner. For example, someone might say, working with companies and startups and large organizations. Well, what do you think stands out to the reader here? Serving companies, that's established small to mid-sized businesses. A budget conscious is what these types of companies are. They have a budget and they might think if you help large organizations, your price point is out of reach for me. If you work also with startups, what do you even know about an established business like mine? The large organization, on the other hand, is going to think that that profile does not look like it is for me. Yes, it says large organizations, but in a large organization, you're not dealing with the one and only decision maker like in a smaller business. It'll be to a specific person that you need to make a connection to. And they'd be looking for your services and your offer, and they'll think, what do you really know about a large organization's structure? We have different departments and different heads there that make decisions. We have another board and we have to have a meeting and so on. What do you know about that if you're working with those other smaller ones? Might be what they are thinking. And then the startups, they're thinking, how could I ever afford services from someone who works with large organizations? And with all of this, having 3 different target audiences that you think gives you this wonderful big pool of people, bang, you've actually lost them all. In your attempt to grab them all, you've lost them instead. So the conclusion is be specific. Linnea talked about that earlier as well. Choose a clear target audience and get really, really good at knowing them. When they, your target audience, tell the story about how good you are, others will come and ask about it. Other size businesses, other types of businesses, and you will be referred, including to the larger clients, because you've started with smaller ones. if that is the case, if that is how you work. And you will find that working with larger ones first and then going to smaller ones is quite a change, quite different. So in conclusion, your words matter. Make sure they work for you and connect with the listener. Right. Now we've shared quite a lot, Linnea. I've left you just to listen there. Do you have something that's come to mind while I was sharing, Linnea? And of course, that gives me the opportunity to check in our comments, Linnea. Over to you. What have you got to add?
All right. I'd just like to share a couple of thoughts about my experience with your global networking online program, Sigrid, because I've been a member since you began it. And what I've found is that it puts me in front of people that I wouldn't otherwise have the opportunity to meet. So these are people who might be outside my network, definitely outside my country. As most of you know, I'm based at the bottom of the world in New Zealand. And so meeting people from the Northern Hemisphere is something that is important to me because otherwise I'm in a very insular and very isolated sort of location geographically, but also fundamentally and thought leadership wise. So meeting people outside my area of expertise and other parts of the world is important. And that's what Sigrid's events are all about. But also when people come to these events, as she's mentioned, they are there to learn more about other people, to get to know people who may be able to help them or may just really want to learn more about them as people, might like the look of them and decide they want to get to know them. And I think that it's really important to remember that people do business with people. We don't do business with companies. We do business with people who work for companies. And so we want to like those people. We want to get to know them and want to trust them. And doing them in a curated environment like Sigrid's group or her program is a really good way to do that, because just quietly she does check people out quite well. So she just doesn't let in any old person. They do need to qualify in her own terms. And I think that's really important, because we've all had so many people reach out to us on LinkedIn and probably on other platforms too, who you go, I've got nothing in common with you. Why are you reaching out to me? Well, mainly they want to sell to you, basically. Some people want to scam you or spam you, but we want to get to know people that we can have solid, trusted relationships with, who we can collaborate with, like Sigrid and I do. And we want people who will be of value to our network. And often that's because they're active on LinkedIn. It is in my case, if they're actively posting or actively commenting, and they are in a B2B business or employment, then they are often a really good connection for me, which reminds me to say, if you are not connected to me, please do reach out, because as I say, I'm always looking to widen my network, and I think that is very important. So if what Sigrid's been talking about in terms of networking is of interest to you, because I think it should be, given that we all do need to widen our network and get to know more people in 2026, then please do join Sigrid and me on one of her upcoming events.
I think that's excellent. Thanks for that plug. And what I'll do is here's an invitation to the next event to come along as guest. I'm just going to try and get that all done at the same time. I think I misspelled it, but who doesn't really matter. There is a link there that you can register to come in as a guest next time, so you get that experience if that is something for you to check out. And yes, I am a little bit distracted, but that is just because I want to make sure I'm not missing anyone who is going to watch or put a comment in there. So what I would like to ask our audience right now, whether you are here live now or whether you're coming later to the replay and you're watching this, I'd be very curious, and so is Linnea, what was the most surprising information that you've heard? Was there something that really surprised you that you hadn't heard or known before? And it's really important to us because we can build further events on that, around that, if there are things that you were surprised about. Linnea, that's correct, isn't it? That gives us a bit of an insight in what people are not familiar with just yet.
Because things are changing so very, very fast, I think, Sigrid, that we expect that people know because we know it, but that's not how life works, is it? And certainly, if I'm posting content on LinkedIn, I can't guarantee that everybody who wants to see it will see it. And so, as we've been talking about, I think we need to remember that talking about the same thing in different places, in different ways, using consistent wording is going to get to a wider audience. I think it's definitely worth remembering that. And if you're in an industry that's changing fast, most industries are, thanks to AI, that a lot of people may not know. So repetition is probably really important, I think.
Absolutely. Thanks, Linnea, for that. So as I said, our question to you is, what was the most surprising thing? What surprised you the most that we have shared here at this session today? Now, what I'm going to do is I just want to make that offer again. Let me start by Linnea. She had her offer for you to get close to Linnea or closer to Linnea. She does offer a free 7-day sign up to her where LinkedIn Linkability. You can get all the details there on that page. You can have a look at this later, or maybe Linnea will put that link into the comments a little bit later as well. So Linnea's offering this. Now, I have got an offer for actual membership, but as Linnea already said, I do need to talk to you. So you'd need to send me a DM if that is something that's of interest to you, or come to the next event. My next live networking event will be January 21. So that's going to be 2 times my day, and there'll be one of the times for you. Register for the guest pass. I put the link in already. The actual membership has a particular kickoff for the beginning of this year. It's a very unique live online format, as Linnea already said, and you can secure the annual membership until the end of January at the 6 months investment. So I'm just going to have this on the screen here, and you can look at that later. And again, you will need to DM me for that so we can have a bit of a chat and see what's your industry, what are you doing, what are your aim. I want to know those things so that I can really work with you and it'll make a difference for you. So now let me jump just back again and see. I'm not sure how quick the responses here, the comments are updated on my LinkedIn window. There's certainly a lot of interaction happening or has happened out there. I'm not seeing any new questions. I hope that I'm not missing anything there. There's nothing over here. So I think we might be at a point in time, Linnea, where we can wrap this up carefully with some of our own insights from perhaps each other, or in general from even the questions that you particularly had so far. And before we do, I'm just going to again call out to all our listeners and viewers. What was the most surprising information that you have heard here? We are very interested in that. Linnea, final words, a summary, something like that, that you'd like to share.
Sure. No, I think it's the thing I'd like people to take away from today is that their LinkedIn presence is not just individual aspects. It's not just their profile. It's not just their posting. It is everything combined. Now that AI has truly come to LinkedIn, we need to be thinking about our presence on LinkedIn as a ecosystem, as one whole area of our expertise that needs to be described with clarity, using words that people understand, and focusing on what our audience wants to know about. It's not about us, it's all about them. Put yourself in the shoes of your audience when you are posting commenting, sending direct messages. And if you can do that, I think that your visibility and presence on LinkedIn will improve in 2026. I sure hope so. 2025 was a real nasty one, wasn't it?
Thanks, Linnea. I think that really says it all. And of course, you know, you have got that practical approach from the platform perspective itself, what you have experienced, what you know about it all, so that we can really take that on board. And from my side, from my angle, it really is your words do matter. There's a lot to the words that we use, how we use them. One thing I didn't go into detail in this presentation or in this sharing of insights is that one good way can be for you, if that is something you like to do, is to actually create a script of an introduction. And you can do that with several types of introductions. When you have a script, you don't have to read it, but initially it might be a good idea, as Linnea said earlier, using the same words over and over is important. So if you have a script, you can stick with certain branding words, if you want to use that terminology, for perhaps just for people to get to know you, to recognize you by your words. Scripting things is really not showing that you don't know what to say, but it is giving you that framework, that foundation to work from. That's how I see that. And feel free to pop into the comments if that is something that you have done, you are doing, or whether you're thinking it might restrict you. Some people do think it is restricting. I think it is great to stay on topic, Linnea, because we have lots to say, so we could easily come off topic as well if we didn't have some bullet points or something in the background.
To keep us in check. Absolutely right, Sigrid, because there is a lot more to say about this, and I think it's important for everyone to recognize that in a way we're all in the same boat. AI is new to all of us, and but to a greater or lesser extent, and its impact is far-reaching. And so, keeping that in mind, I think as we work through 2026 is going to be important, because AI itself has become important already.
Yeah, it certainly is it's something to go forward with. And I think if you don't know what you don't know, you can't use it. So get to know it. Follow Linnea certainly on the AI aspect. But as we said, we are connected, so we're always both sharing different things in different ways as well. So I think that concludes our sharing for today, Linnea. You're all ready to say see you next time to everyone?
Absolutely. I look forward to receiving another invitation from you to collaborate like this, Sigrid. Drop into my LinkedIn inbox. Thank you again for the opportunity. Kia ora to everyone who joined us today live. Thank you so very much. So nice to see some of our friends in the audience. Gillian Whitney, Meryl Cass, Mel Richards. Thank you so much. Also, Vicky Bell. So glad you could be with us here today.
Fantastic. Thanks, Linnea, and thanks to our audience for some participation there. As I said, now I'm not sure how many of the comments I was able to actually see while I was looking at all these different pages throughout the sharing, the interaction. So I will go back, Linnea will go back later on. We'll pick up on any comments or questions that we may have missed. Thank you for your interaction. It's been really interesting. It's been wonderful to be able to share that to you, and we've had a great audience. Thanks to everyone. Thank you.